How's it going, everybody? Today we are going to do a new project that's a part of the new responsive web design course on Freecodecamp. It's the Learn the CSS box model by building the Rothko painting. So after we're done, we should have something that looks like this. Let's get started. Step 1. By now you should be familiar with the basic elements of HTML. Set up your code with a doc type declaration and an HTML element with the languages set to English and the head element and body element. So we'll get started with that. Step 2. Within the head element, add a meta tag which sets the char set to UTF-8 and a title element with the value Rothko painting. Within the body element, add an image element with the source of the link. Okay, so inside the CSS box model, verify HTML element is treated as a box with 4 areas. Imagine you receive a box from your favorite online retailer and the contents inside the content is the item in the box. Or in our case, a header, paragraph, or image element. Change the source attribute in the image from that link to this link, okay? The content is surrounded by a space called padding, similar to how bubble wrap separates an element from the box around it. Think of the border as a cardboard box your element was shipped in. Change the source attribute to this. Step 5. Margin is the area outside of the box and can be used to control the space between other boxes or elements. Here, the bottom element has a larger top margin, pushing it further down the page. Now that you understand the CSS box model, let's get started on the Rothko painting. Remove the image element. So let's get rid of this. Add a div element within the body. Set the class. Attribute equal to canvas. Before you could start styling your div, you need to link your CSS, add a link element, Time for CSS. Even though your div has no text, it is still treated as a box with content. Write the CSS rule that uses the .canvas class selector and set its width to 500 pixels. Here's how a CSS rule that sets the width of a class card to 300 pixels. So pretty much just copy this, put it in here, change this to canvas, and our width is going to be 500 pixels. Add a height property with a value of 600 pixels. Add a background color. Every painting needs a frame. Wrap the canvas element in another div. Give that div a frame class. Write a new rule using the frame class selector. Use a border shorthand declaration and give the frame element a solid black border with a width of 50 pixels. Oh, sorry, solid black border. Okay. So solid and black. The frame is too wide. Use padding to adjust the spacing within the element and the frame. Class selector, use a padding shorthand property to increase the space between frame and canvas elements by 50 pixels. The shorthand will increase space in the top and bottom left right of the element's border and canvas within. Use margins to adjust the spacing outside of the element. Use margin property. Give the frame elements a vertical margin of 20 pixels, horizontal margin of auto, and this will move the frame down 20 pixels and horizontally center it on the page. Add a new div element inside of your canvas element. Give the new div a class attribute with the value of 1. Write a new rule that targets the one class selector and set its width to 425 pixels. Now set the height for 150 pixels. Set the background color to EFB 762. Use margins to position the one element on the canvas. Use a shorthand margin property and a vertical margin of 20 pixels and a horizontal margin of auto. Now the one is centered horizontally, but its two top margin is pushing past the canvas into the frame's border, shifting the center, shifting the entire canvas down 20 pixels. Add padding and give it a something solid to push off of. So we'll do padding, do 1 pixel, and solid. Adding 1 pixel of padding to the top and bottom, left and right of the canvas changed its dimensions to 502 pixels times 602 pixels. Replace the padding property with overflow set to hidden, changing the canvas back to its original dimensions. Add another div with a class of 2 just below your 1. So I'm just going to copy this, put it here. Create a new CSS rule. Width to 475. Height to 200 pixels. And a background color set to 8F0401. And let's do a margin of auto. And we need to create a new div for 3. You don't always have to use pixels when sizing elements. You can use percentages. Create a new rule 3 and set it width to 91%. Set the height to 28%. Change the background color. B20403. And you want to center it. It's helpful to have your margins push in one direction. In this case, the bottom margin of 1 pushes 2 down 2 pixels, and the 2 selector use margin shorthand property to set the top margin to 0, horizontal to auto, and the bottom to 20. And this will remove its top margin horizontally, center it, and set its bottom margin to 20 pixels. So we'll do a 0 auto and 20 pixels. The colors and shapes of your painting are too sharp to pass as a Rothko. Use a filter property to blur the painting by 2 pixels in the canvas element. Here's an example of that rule. So create a rule that targets the 1 and 2 and increase their blur by 1 pixel. Increase the blur of 3 by 2 pixels. The rectangles are too small and their edges don't have the soft quality of painting. Increase the area and soften the edges of one by setting its box shadow to this. So we'll just do a box shadow. Actually, we don't need quotes. Use the same box shadow declaration for 2, but change the color from EFB to 8F0. So box shadow, and just change the color 8F0401. Add a box shadow to the 3 class selector with the values 0, 0, 5 pixel, 5 pixel, B20, okay. The corners of each rectangle are still too sharp. Round each corner of the class 1 element by 9 pixels using a border radius property. Use a border radius property on the 2 selector to set its top left and top bottom radii to 8 pixels and the top right and the bottom left 10. So we'll do 8 pixels and 10 pixels. The border radius accepts up to 4 values to round the top left, top right, bottom right, and bottom left corners. Round the top left corner of the 3 by 30, the top right by 25, the bottom right by 60, and the bottom left by 12. Rotate each rectangle to give them more of an imperfect hand-painted look. Use the transform property on the class 1 selector to rotate it counterclockwise by 0.6 degrees. So we'll do rotate minus 0.06 degrees. And I think that should, okay. And do the same to the 4 by 0.4. So we'll do transform, rotate, minus 0.04 degrees. What did I spell wrong? Rotate the 3 counterclockwise by 0.2. With this final step, your Rothko painting is now complete. So you'll do transform, rotate, oops. What happened? So you'll rotate, okay, so counterclockwise will give you a negative, and clockwise will be positive. So you'll do minus negative 0.2 degrees. And that's it. That was our project, guys. Thank you for everything. Thank you for watching. Give a thumbs up. If you have any questions, let me know, and good luck on the next project. Have a great day.